Both tools are server-side rendering. But what is a server-side rendering? Okay, here's a short description. Server-side rendering is a technique that loads data before of render the page. We load data about me and send those in metadata to the requester before loading all the resources of a page. This technique helps if you want your site to rank higher in search results on Google, DuckDuckGo, and other browsers. You can't achieve this using only React or Angular. Now, let's continue with the tools. Nextjs is a server-side rendering framework widely used by developers, offering multiple features like server components, among others. This framework is powered by React and its builder is TurboPack. It was created by company Vercel, which is an important point later in this video. Now let's move on to Freshjs. This framework is also server-side rendering like Nextjs, but the main difference is that it used Preact.js and Dino.js. The latter is alternative runtime for JavaScript, offering more security and speed compared to Node.js. Both are similar tools, but their approach are somewhat different. And in this video we are going to explore those differences. Now, let's talk about the development experience. This example was based on my CV. Why? Because I don't have time to create a project. Just happening, and that's okay. My first resume version was created with Next version 9, and for this video I used version 14 with up there folder. But it was challenging because all their structure in file and code changed from page index to app page. This was the easier part. Also, it's mandatory to have a file called layout less one for can display any page in front. However, the most annoying was the following. You can't save some data inside of Nextjs and later share that. Let me explain shortly. In my case, I needed to get information about me for displays in all pages from the project. But if you can see, it's a loop actions. So each time that me change of page, I had to create processes. But if I could call and save that data one time, I didn't have to use source from machine increasing the performance. I could solve that issue using a singleton, but not all developers know about that. Another issue was that you have to use a flag to avoid irritation errors when loading resource from a client component by using useClient. Now with Freshjs was easy because it's similar to Nextjs and the documentation is clear. It also has files called layout, header, middleware, among others. Fresh is powered by Preact, a library similar to React. Another thing is that also has a folder structure for sharing page. Here we use the route folder for shape page and the island folder for use to store client components. I faced a similar challenge, fetching my data from backend, but in Freshjs I was able to solve it by nesting the data within the request scope. This was better because I didn't need to create a singleton or worry about my backend service being called multiple times. For me, the disadvantage was that when I changed or saved anything in the editor, all entire DOM would reload and reprocess everything, which consumed more resources, but it's the only negative point, and I almost forgot to mention that it's less well known than Nextjs. The main advantage is that load code faster because it uses Rust in the background. For this benchmark, I use Docker Compose monitored by Bechmark Dev, Prometheus, and Grafana. I've shared the repository link in the description for you. That's great reason for subscribe to my channel. For this thing I noticed was that the default image for Node.js is lighter than the Node.js. However, when I built the project, Node.js image ended up weighing much more than the Node.js. This is likely because of Node.js libraries. I should mention that my project only includes about 5 libraries, but by default, Nextjs uses a lot of secondary libraries. Now, let's continue with the benchmark. In development mode, this benchmark is mainly for beginning developers or people using entry-level PCs. But why? Let me show the test. If you look at the charts, both Node.js and Node.js use less than 1% of processor, and the memory usage is almost the same. Now, it's time to open the project in the browser. In my Docker configuration, Freshjs use port 3006 and Nextjs use port 3007. Alright, the project have loaded and we can check the charts. Oh my god, Node.js with Nextjs is like a PC killer. Look at the RAM and CPU usage. 68% CPU usage and 600 of memory RAM for just one request. That's way too heavy for a single request. This reminds me of why I could never learn Angular 2 or more version. My PC always crashed whenever I started a project. In production mode, I have to change some lines in the configuration files for both Node and Node.js. After that, I decided to delete the containers to ensure all settings and caches were cleared. Then, I ran the command docker compose app build again and waited for the build process to finish. As always, building with Nextjs took more time and had its usual surprise. Once all the containers were ready, the first test began, Nextjs and Freshjs. While the process is running, I wanted to share a song from my friend Absu. Here's a developer and also MC.
Ya. Culmina otro capítulo, feliz final de temporada, sin guardar rencores porque no me aporta nada. Todos tuvimos un supuesto amigo que nos envidiaba y un supuesto amor que resultó solo una interesada. El respeto no está de moda ni es moderno, relaciones devaluadas como el dólar y el gobierno. Estos bobos no saben valorar a tiempo. Recuerda que la ingratitud inunda el infierno. Ya no creo en nadie ni en promesas externos, ni que algún día lleguen a comprendernos. Veo tu falsedad porque despierto yo me encuentro. Fueron tantas sus mentiras que no queda nada cierto, El ciego no ve banderas rojas, por eso no pierdo el tiempo analizando paradojas emocionalmente confusas, vinculaciones difusas. Mejor quemo las hojas para olvidarme que se abusan y se excusan. Con su demagogia cual sofistas se rehusan a ver la magia en lo realista. Andamos de turistas en un mundo donde ser leal es cosa de locos, extraños y extremistas. Yo camino por la sombra agradeciendo el sol. Me retiré pues estoy buscando algo mejor. La vida es más que un problema para hallarle solución. Tú reza el algoritmo para tener
Now,
más
for
percepción.
1000 requests, Freshjs went first. I've cropped the video to avoid boring you with terminal output. Freshjs handled 1000 requests in 23 seconds, with an average CPU usage of 25% and memory RAM usage of 265 MB, which was very similar to the first test. Nextjs was up next. It took quite some time.
Five minutes later.
100 requests took 2 minutes and 32 seconds. CPU usage average 34%, and the RAM usage decreased compared to Freshjs, averaging 119 MB. Finally, for 5,000 requests, Freshjs went first again. Freshjs complete the test in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which is very good. Remember, are 5,000 requests. Now let's see Nextjs.
One hour and 5 minutes later.
Oh my god, it took 12 minutes and 23 seconds. Mamma mia! In this case, CPU and RAM usage were higher with Dino.js, but Freshjs consistently responded faster than Nextjs, often by the larger margin. Take a look at the table where I logged all the data and a chart that visually highlights the difference in times. Both platforms offer service for deploying your products, and they both include a free tier, which is great for practicing your hobbies or working on prototypes. In this case, I'll go straight to the pipeline state action collect actions on GitHub. I've set 2 jobs in these pipelines, but Nextjs and Freshjs have a similar jobs. Build application is like a superficial test to check formatting. Deploy is job for deploy your project to respective platform. Let's review the times to each project. Bad jobs took 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Now looking at Freshjs. The same jobs were completed in just 1 minute and 31 seconds. On Vercel, your project is hosted at subdomain.vercel.app, and on the Dino platform is hosted at subdomain.dino.dev. With the free tier, you can only customize the subdomain name, but not the main domain. And the winner is